Hello, my name is Sasha, and this is my best friend Irie. Say hello to the camera, Irie. And this is our story. So, Irie and I both have colon cancer. I was diagnosed this spring with stage 3B, and he was just diagnosed yesterday, and he's stage 4 inoperable. The question is, how do the dog and I both get the same type of cancer? I moved to Oakdale in 2005, and Irie came into my life just a couple years later. I spent the last 12 years living in Oakdale, and Irie spent the last 7 living with me. What was the one common factor that Irie and I shared when we lived in Oakdale? We both drank water out of the tap. And as you know, 3M buried toxic waste in Lake Elmo and in Oakdale, actually about 3 blocks from where we lived, and it leaked into the groundwater.
Hello, we are standing in front of the 3M reclamation area for Oakdale. My house is actually 3 blocks up the street. So this is where the part of the barrels were buried, starting probably the 50s. They were removed a few years ago. However, the ground is still contaminated, and so you're seeing this green fence, and the ground was just being reclamated. Currently, as you can see, it's still in progress. According to all the reports, the cleanup was completed in 2015. Today is December 4th, 2017. As you can see, the work still continues, and we still have poison in our ground.
So you've been drinking this water for about 12 years from the chemicals that were dumped here, and you now have cancer. Tell us a bit about what you have going on, and what the chemicals here were, and how they brought joy and misery to your life.
So I was diagnosed with colon cancer, stage 3B.
Water contaminating our water. The safe rates are 1 part per billion. We were drinking 23,700 parts per billion. We have the same stage of cancer. There is still hope for me after extensive surgery, but unfortunately my little buddy is not going to last very long. His tumor stretches from right underneath the rib cage, and as you can see here a little bit on his butt, there's this protrusion, so this is where the tumor breached, and the goal is to keep him comfortable and make sure that his quality of life is okay until he's in too much pain.
Now you're 35 years old. The colon cancer screening starts at 55 and doesn't focus on women. If they were a little bit more open-minded in who could get cancer, like a woman in her 30s, you wouldn't be as far as long as you are. So what do you think about starting screening at 55 versus 35 or maybe 30?
So I'm a firm believer in early screening. My tumor has been growing for years, so if there was screening, I wouldn't be in the situation that I'm in today.
Okay.
What about screening for younger people? I'm 35, and I diagnosed with stage 3B colon cancer. My chances of survival are just 38%. Post HIPEC surgery and screening wasn't available, wasn't suggested by my doctor. So what can we do to help young people?
You know, the screening guidelines are made to catch as many as we can. In medicine, we're constantly trying to figure out the benefits versus the risk and what that ratio is. Thank you for sharing your personal story, and I really hope you're in that 30%. We will take into account family history, your health habits. If you do have a family history of colon cancer, like one of our survivors spoke to, it is usually recommended to get that screening done. I can't speak with complete accuracy, but I believe it's 5 years younger than the family member. 10 years younger than the family member that you had.
First polyp.
Yep, the first precancerous lesion that was found on their colonoscopy. Some people have no family history of any sort of cancer and will still get this. That's unfortunately the science behind cancer. But that is one of the things when I was mentioning that insurance doesn't necessarily cover 100% of screenings. You would probably be in that category where we would have to fight a little bit stronger for you to get the screenings done.
I'm sorry too for your situation. Pray for your recovery. Any other questions?
But let me tell you a little bit about how I was diagnosed and what my chances of survival are. This spring, a friend of mine and I went to France and we got a really bad case of E. coli. She got better and I didn't. Multiple trips to the doctor to check for anything from parasites to bacterial infections all came back negative. The gastroenterologist couldn't figure out what was wrong with me, who then sent me to a colorectal surgeon who did an x-ray and thought he found an abscess in my colon, which he then inserted a drainage tube to drain, but I kept getting worse. He pulled out the drainage tube and the pains started getting debilitating. I couldn't get up. The neighbor had to come over and let the doggy out so he wasn't stuck in the house and getting his walks in. I landed in the hospital and I spent over a month in the hospital with no diagnosis. I just kept getting worse and they kept giving me painkillers to try to keep me quiet. Oh.
What's the pain feel like?
Oh, it's like somebody is stabbing knives on the inside and then it starts spreading down and twisting my kneecaps. And then the muscle that goes right under here is throbbing. My entire leg spasms. And sometimes it goes numb, which is actually welcome. But most of the time it just spasms and throbs and it feels like they're stabbing me at the site of the new tube with a knife. And nobody is doing anything. Finally, I ended up with complete blockage of the colon, and as they wheeled me into emergency surgery, my colon burst and they lost me on the operating table. So it's a small miracle that I'm still here because I died that day. I woke up the next day sporting a colostomy bag to a resident who came in the room with a look of big surprise and proceeded to tell me that nobody in the hospital expected me to live through the night. The cancer diagnosis came a week later. I was diagnosed with stage 3B, which means 1 lymph node involvement. The surgery took out 2 tumors and 21 centimeters of my colon and part of my rectum. The bad part, the abscess was not an abscess, it was a tumor, so when they put in the drainage tube, it caused the tumor to burst, so cancer cells flooded my entire system. To make matters worse, when my colon burst, the infection, the cancer, and my stool flooded my bloodstream, so pretty much giving me cancer cells in all over my abdomen, so what is called the peritoneum. I had peritoneum spread as well as spread to my uterine wall. The doctors advised that full hysterectomy might be needed at the time of next surgery, and unfortunately I don't have any children, so that was the hardest part for me to deal with in terms of a diagnosis. It was the one time I sat down and I just cried because I always thought I had more time, and you always picture yourself, you know, sitting there on the couch reading to your children and to their children, and I don't get that chance. Closest thing to a child that I have is my friend Irie, and he's not gonna make it very long. Now, the surgery that I have coming up in just a few short weeks is something called high back. Again, due to the peritoneum spread, chemo is not very effective. My chance of recurrence within 2 years is 100%, and they don't know if I'll make it through the next round of cancer. So I'm choosing high back, which is a hyperthermic chemo, so it is exactly what it sounds like. So they open you up and they pour chemo inside your abdominal cavity at 104 degrees Fahrenheit for a period of 90 minutes. It is very effective, so it penetrates through the peritoneum, killing those cancer cells, and it does prevent recurrence. Unfortunately, 11% die on the operating table. Another 25 to 56 don't make it past 60 days. And just 38% live post 5 years. But hey, I'll take it. I'm 35. I have some life to live. I'm refusing to accept the diagnosis that I have. Just 2 years left.
What is the pain level when you wake up after this hot chemo?
From what I hear, it's excruciating. The recovery period is anywhere between 6 weeks to 6 months, and you wake up in the ICU. The average time spent in the ICU is between 6 and 30 days.
And you believe most of this came from drinking contaminated water that 3M dumped in your community and didn't disclose for decades. So you were drinking a cancer-causing substance for the last 11 or 12 years.
Absolutely. I have no family history of cancer on either side of the family. And think about it this way. What are the odds of me and the dog having the same stage of cancer? As I mentioned, I was diagnosed in the spring, so we started with surgery and active chemo. But my little buddy didn't know how to tell me that he was sick. So he went undiagnosed for all those months, so his cancer is a lot more advanced. So you tell me what the odds are of me and the dog being sick with the same thing at the same time. We know cancer is not contagious. How is that possible?
The common denominator is the tap water. Okay, so let's go through what's going on with the dog here real quick. Why don't you point out the tumor to us?
Okay, so this is Irie. As you can see, there is a mass right here. So this is actually where the tumor is breaching right next to his rectum, and it starts right underneath the rib cage, so it goes the entire length of his body, so about 2 feet.
And Irie is normally a very hyperactive dog. The idea of him laying around like this is uncommon, correct?
Correct, correct.
All right. Thank you very much.